You know when you start to do something and your cats just like appear out of nowhere and they've ignored you all day? I have all 3 cats here. Yeah, you're very cute though. Hi, welcome back to the Adventure Fiberworks podcast. My name's Sydney, your lovely host. And it's been a hot minute. I apologize. I totally meant to record a video for end of July with every intention of doing it on the August long here in Canada, but I was horribly sick. Like, I had COVID back in June, and it was worse, I swear to God. I think I can't function once I have a runny nose. And that knocked me out for like a week. So I just got back from a short trip to Vancouver and Victoria. I was in Victoria for a work conference and decided to go a couple days ahead to Vancouver to visit some friends because I had the opportunity. So yeah, it was fun. Bought some yarn, as you'd expect. It was funny. July, I didn't like buy anything for the most part, except I did a little pre-order for a local indie dyer who's like releasing a line, which I probably won't see those till like end of September, but I just did really good. And then August happened, and August was very bad. August started with a nudity drop with like the most stellar colors that I like. They're not like super bright or anything, they're just colors I like. So I bought a bunch, and then when I was in Victoria, I went to Beehive again, because it's just a lovely store, and I didn't want to get a sweater's quantity of yarn, but you know, it happens sometimes, so I did. So I actually have things to show you. July was, I was definitely like lacking some mojo. I was like in between a few projects, couldn't really figure out what I wanted. But I finally, I have no finished things to show you, none, because I have a lot of start and stops. But yeah, let's jump into that first, and then I'll show you this pile of things here that you can't see that's off camera. So, what did I start with? Oh, okay. So, actually, July was a month of making things for other people. I was commissioned to do a quilt by a family friend, and I also made kind of like a backpack version of this for my aunt. So there was time spent on that. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you is I was so excited. I forget which of my last podcasts that I was talking about socks and making like sock yarn and making socks, and I was so pumped. Yeah, well, my brain likes sweaters, so I got this far on I'll post the name here of the sock pattern because I can't remember it right now, but it's from Fibre. And so these are little baubles, if you can see them, that'll have like little flowers around them that you embroider. Yeah, I didn't get very far on that, although it was nice to do it in the round. Yeah, didn't get too far on that because my brain likes sweaters because they're large and knit up kind of quick, even though this is an accessory. I don't know. It wasn't a time to do socks, apparently. So, I was like, okay, well, I went home for a weekend in July, and I was like, well, I need something to do on the plane, obviously, even if it's just for the weekend. For reference, home is in Ontario, and I'm in Alberta. So I started making a tank top out of silk that I bought last time I was at Beehive in Victoria in June. And so now I have a string. It's just on one of these little holders, but a series of little crumpled triangles. I have one more on the needles. I brought this with me to Vancouver and Victoria. I did not have the brain power or time to be able to do any knitting. I was also obsessed with the book I was reading, so that's all I wanted to do. It's been a while since that happened, but I have every intention of actually finishing this. The socks on standby, but this I actually want to finish. It's kind of like a creamy gray color, like a warm grayish. Is that what they call it these days? So it's really soft. Yeah, the last one, oh, you know, when things just pop off your needles. Anyway, the last one's on the needles right now. So this is the Allure camisole by Kadri. So once you make the triangles, you attach them all together So you got 2 triangles at the front and 2 at the back, and then you just make a big tube. So once I have these all done, it'll be super easy to get that done. It'll be really pretty, I think. And then, so I know in my last thing, I was like, I'm done with test knits. I've only done one, but it was enough. Like, I don't need to do anymore. And so what did I do? I immediately signed up for another test knit, and I keep doing this. I've signed up for a bunch. I don't usually get them, but I was chosen for this. But to be fair, if you remember, if you watched, I think my June one, or May, I had bought this, which was a worsted weight Cascade 220 in Robin Egg Blue, and this Kid Silk Mohair to match. And I originally wanted to do the Aosta cardigan by Knit Pro Girl, but I swatched, I don't know where my swatch is. Anyway, it was like, thank God I swatched, because it was awful. I was nowhere near gauge. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not making that, but I really wanted to make something. Sorry, this strap keeps falling down on this dress. It's a me-made one, so that happens. But I really wanted to make something out of this, but I only have a couple cardigan patterns, and none of them were going to work, basically. I didn't have the right material. So I was like, okay, well, damn it, I really wanted this blue cardigan. So what is it, Colibri by Joanna, she put out a tester call for a cardigan that needed 1 strand of worsted and 1 strand of mohair, and I was like, oh, I have that, perfect. So she chose me, which I was really happy about, and it's the Edgar cardigan. I was a little farther this morning than I am now because I had to rip it out, but that's a test knit, right? And I had to rip the sleeve back because I guess I'm not that tall, but I'm like a 5'7" and a bit. And I know for a fact I have a short waist and a small bust and long arms, which I'm learning, because I always add extra length to the sleeves. I also just like them, like I like my sleeves to hit about here, if not like in the middle of the palm. So that's part of it. But I was gonna switch to hemming on the sleeves for this morning, but it was like here, and it was gonna look dumb if I had, you know, this much ribbing. So I didn't want to do that, so I pulled it back, and the reason I can't just add it is because, well, here, I'll show you the whole sweater. Blech. The button bands look going a little funny, but this is it. So the color is stunning. I love it. So it has twisted rib, this twisted rib section on the side, and so it adds a bit of interest, right? And then the sleeves also have the twisted rib, and eventually you expand it slowly, and then you expand it really quickly so that it kind of wraps around, and then you just have your cuff, which is all twisted ribbing. So I couldn't just add a bunch of ribbing because it was going to look silly, so I had to rip it back to where it's like a slow growth section, add 8 centimeters because that's how much I needed, and then continue the rest of the pattern. And I thought, I was just having a me moment, and I was like, maybe I just effed up. Maybe it was just me. But I looked at the sleeve length was supposed to be 41 centimeters, which lands here on me, which is about where I was going to end up if I did the ribbing. So I told her that, and she was like, cool. I changed it because a lot of people were saying it was long, and I was like, I think all you really need to say is like, do this a few more times if you need it long, and like it should end up, you know, mid forearm. So she's going to change the pattern so that doesn't happen to you if you have long arms / like your sleeves long. But yeah, oh, this fabric is so nice. The color, not something I usually have, but I'm like really excited. I like that there is like a design element to it because I'm so used to just doing flat sleeves. So I have to have this done by August 15th, which is in a couple days. It's Friday today, so I have to have this done on Monday. So I'm a little behind because I didn't take it with me on the plane because I didn't want to haul this all with me on the plane. So yeah, that was really nice. I'm really excited about this. And those are all my whips. And there's no finished projects. That's going to be soon. Me and one of my friends are vending in a market. I'm not selling anything. I'm just there for emotional support and to do like the technical side of things, like set up our chip and card reader and all that stuff. So I'm going to sit and knit is basically going to be me, so I can get this thing done and then I can wear it. And I'm so pumped. It'll be so nice. So my next podcast, this will be in it in its full glory, so we'll get better view of it. Yeah, okay, so things I acquired. August has been deadly. So, okay, let's start while I was in Victoria, because it's pretty straightforward. So, last time I was in Victoria, I got this, oh, here, it's right here, actually. So, last time I was in Victoria, I got this. It's Sanday's Garn, and it's one of their pattern books, specifically to make one sweater. And I actually ended up loving like everything in here, so maybe I'll slowly make my way through. But I was really excited to make the Guernsey sweater. You can see there's like lots of funky details in here. I loved it. So I've fallen back in love. I've reminded myself that exists. So I was like, oh, I want to get the yarn for it. But I didn't. Sanday's Garn is really nice, but it's quite expensive. And I was like, I don't want to spend $300 on a sweater. So while I was in Victoria, it's a little more expensive to buy things there than in Alberta because we don't have taxes, sales tax. So, but still, it was going to be way cheaper if I did it with Drops, which is just like a nice, inexpensive yarn brand. So I ended up finding this, which is Drops Lima, in this like pretty cream color. I think it's their 001 colorway, just like unbleached white, in a DK. This was $4 cheaper than if I had to get the Sanday's Garn Double Sunday per ball. So this was well worth it. And then to pair with it, I got the Drops mohair. I wasn't super, usually I'd pick like a nicer mohair, but I was trying to save money, and I figure I feel like it might be kind of a waste to keep using nice mohair held together with something else. So I wanted to try a more inexpensive version. You know, it's $10 instead of $15, $16, which is what I'm used to paying. So these are going to be held together to make that sweater. Both 001, they're the same color. But I think they'll be really pretty. It'll be such a nice like fall winter piece. I was hoping to do more of like a cool toned sweater, kind of like the one that's in the book. I think it's with their colorway Putty, but they didn't have it. To get more versions of white, you have to pay more, so I was like, nah, we're good. I like this cream white. I think this will look probably nicer on me otherwise. So yeah, that's gonna be probably something I start in maybe October. I say that and I have like no idea. A little later, I think, though. Yeah. And then Nudin. So I realized I ordered Nudin back in May, but it didn't arrive for when I did the June podcast. But then I also, how did that work? No, for the May podcast. I didn't arrive, and then in time, and then I forgot about it in the second episode. So I thought I'd show you. You can see my whole collection. So, for their May, it was grays mostly. So don't ask me the colors. I'll post them below, maybe put them on the screen, because I don't know how to say them and I don't know what they are. So it's this lovely, it's dark gray, but like has a bit of brown to it, I would say. You're seeing it pretty clear for what I'm seeing in the camera here. It's kind of like a warmish dark gray, if that makes sense. Like, it's not super black, it has some brown to it. And I thought this would be so nice in the Miles jacket. Is it jacket? Yeah, the Miles jacket by Ozetta. It's basically like the cut of a plaid jacket, but knitted. And I thought this would be so nice. This is another one I want to do for the fall big time, because I think it'll be super cozy, super fall vibes. So very, yeah, this stuff is gorgeous, and it's just so soft. I haven't used any of this yet, of course. It's definitely one of those things where it's like, you're realizing that you knit a lot slower than like what do you buy for. So, excited for that. And then I also got, they had a white, I think this is just snow. Yeah, this one's just snow. Oh, so I got 600 grams of this, because they don't do it by length. They do it by grams, so it kind of depends, but I figured that would be enough. And then I got their snow, which is like a creamy white, very on the same vein, right? You can kind of use that to compare, a little more yellow. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this yet, but I figure you can't go wrong with a white yarn for a sweater. I love creams. I'm looking at like my clear boxes of yarn, and it's just full of creams. So I couldn't go wrong with this, and it was just nice to have. They seemingly always try and have some sort of variation of white for sale, which is nice. If anything, it's like color work in that. And then let me grab this. Okay, so then for the August drop, oh, these colors. They're super vibrant colors. They usually have, they sometimes have very super vibrant colors, and they're really pretty, but these are my colors, my earth tones, what I'm into right now. So at first we have the very boring gray beige. I love it though. So I got, was it 500 grams of this? Do I have a plan? Absolutely not. I definitely just try to buy some sweater quantities just so I have the option. But I couldn't say no to this like beautiful beige color. So I have 500 grams of this, and then they were only selling in like 400 and 500 grams, which is fine, because I'm like, if I'm gonna buy it, because you're probably not gonna get it again, you might as well get enough, right? Right. That's my justification. And then we have another blue. I decided I need more blue yarn. This is just like really a much different blue vibe than this. Like, this is bright. But I love this like more muted kind of wintry color. It's got a lot of gray in it. If you've seen, I have a pile of the Manchalope by Wool Dreamers on top of this thing. And they do this like very gray blue that kind of, depending on the light, can look more gray. I would say that's like a good option if you want this kind of color. I think from the looks of it, it leans a little more gray. This one's definitely leaning more blue. But I thought this was so pretty. So I got 300 grams of this. It might make a nice shawl. I have a couple shawl patterns for Plutalope knitted in. So maybe. But yeah, the color, gorgeous. I love it. And then I was really excited. I was hoping they'd have like a forest green, and they had a forest green. So yeah, this definitely has like underlays of yellow, and I think there's some pink in it too. So it's kind of multi-dimensional when you're looking at it. I don't know if it, oh, it kind of does. You can kind of see the yellows in the camera. But nice dark green, and I got 500 grams of this, and I'm super excited. I really want a dark green woolly sweater, so I was like, oh, it's perfect. And so I'm thinking I want to do something, I don't know how to cable yet, but I'd like to learn, but I want to do something a little more intricate on the yoke. I've just seen a couple of like dark green sweaters with cables, or like just interesting texture, and a dark green, I think that would be so lovely. Yeah, so that's the plan with that. I'm really excited about this green. That was definitely like, I have to get the green, and then I got the rest of it too. This was the whole drop, I think, except one color. So I mean, it's a yarn thing, right? You just do it. Yeah, that's all my acquisitions, other than books. I'm like, yeah, I think having some, like a book section of my podcast is kind of fun, because I also like to not just keep my hands busy, but like keep my brain busy. So These are both while I was in Victoria. So similar to this one, I got the other Sanday's Garden book that they had. This one's from, I think, fall. Did it say? Yeah, autumn 2021. So this time last year. And it's just, I really like the Sanday's Garden styles. They're just like really simple, like timeless, like that. It's got kind of baubles on the sides, so you have a bit of that texture, but it's still very classic. There's a really pretty, like that with like the feather details. I just think their designs are so classic, so timeless, just gorgeous. There's like, oh, this one, I definitely want to make this. It's a mohair sweater, but like oversized. It looks really good with like, yeah, with that. So I got this one too because I also loved all the designs in it, and yeah, I definitely want to make some over the years with that. Like, those are not like a super rush to try and get a pattern out, but they're really nice for inspiration. Like, it's just like having them because they're so pretty. They're just like pretty to look through. And then, so the conference I was at, it was, my whole company's online, so it was like an opportunity to meet your team. I work in tech, so there's money for like doing activities. Anyway, me and my lead were the only ones there in our whole team, so we went shopping, and went book shopping. And it was funny, she finds me in the bookstore in Victoria because she was wandering around and she was gonna go, I hadn't met her yet. She was like, here, I'll meet you at this restaurant, we can go get a drink. And I was like, cool, I'm just at the bookstore, I'm finishing up. And she just so happens to walk into the same bookstore. She's like, I wonder if Sid's in here. And she finds me on brand with a knitting book in hand. So I'm like, well, at least I don't disappoint in real life. So this is called Unraveling Canada, a knitting odyssey. I've seen this online a couple times, and work was going to pay for us to get do an activity. We bought books. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to get this. So from, as I understand it, here, I'll just read the cover. In 2015, Sylvia Olsen and her partner Tex embarked on a cross-Canada journey from the Salish Sea to the Atlantic Ocean to conduct workshops, exchanges, experiences with other knitters, and, Olsen hoped, discover a fresh appreciation for Canada. And it's about knitting culture and history in Canada, which I love because I've read like a couple other books that are more US based or UK based where there's very big knitting cultures, but I was really happy to see one in Canada. So I will let you know how this is, but it's definitely on my to be read list very shortly once I finish up my like other thing I'm reading. And then those are my acquired books. And then recently just finished a book called Women's Work, the First 20,000 Years. And it is about the history of textiles, but like ancient times, as old as you could go back, textiles. And it was fascinating. Yeah, it's from 94, I think. Like, it's a bit of an older book, but the history doesn't change that much. And she did a lot of research. Because textiles aren't a thing that you find in an archaeological dig site, you kind of have to go to weird sources to try and get information about textiles. And like, in most stories, you don't necessarily hear about textiles and what people wore because it was just so everyday. Why would you bother to explain it? So she kind of takes you on this journey about interesting ways you have to be a textile historian. So it's in like looking at sculptures and the clothing on those, and hey, what can you infer about the clothing and the textiles based on like a stone statue, but like we're talking like a stone statue from 20,000 years ago. Finding loom weights for their looms that they were using, or the stone from a spindle, because the spindle section probably was made out of wood, so it's gone, but the whorls at the bottom to weigh it down from spinning wool would still be there. Also, she goes a lot into kind of following along on ancient stories, like the Odyssey and like any ancient Greek stories and Egyptian stories, because a lot of the times they allude to textile production and fabrics because it was a very important part of their everyday life. And so you can gain a lot of knowledge and infer a lot of knowledge kind of looking in these weird areas instead of like having to rely on, maybe one day they'll find a piece of textile, which they do now and then, which you get, you know, boatloads of information, but you just don't have that opportunity the same way if you're like a ceramics person, because textiles don't hang around. So it was super fascinating. Yeah, and so it was, I know there's a couple history textile books out there. This one's good if you want to know ancient, like where textiles came from, basically, and their evolution with human history. It's kind of, it goes up to basically the ancient Greeks. So you talk about Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, touch on like kind of the British Isles and stuff, but not a whole lot. There's definitely like a focus in that agriculture belt where there was big cities and stuff were able to form in the Middle East. There is recognition that the author is like, China and Asia had their whole other like crazy textile history going on. We're not going there. This is like very North Africa, European centric, so just something to note. But yeah, I would, if you're at all interested, it was really well written. I have a hard time like finishing nonfiction sometimes that isn't like story based. This was like very factual, but I found it really fascinating, so I read the whole thing fairly quickly. So I'll put a link in the bottom so you can check it out. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're at all interested in that, to take a look in that. And trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. Oh, sewing. If you're interested in sewing, I'll grab my dress here. So I had to go to a wedding in July. This was like the one thing I sewed for me that I got finished. And I made a dress to go to this said wedding, and oh my god, I'm so proud. Look at that fabric. So it's like a midi length slip dress, somewhat form-fitting. It's the Paper Cut Patterns Maya dress. I've made it twice now. This is my second time, so I made a couple adjustments, like making the body larger but the cups smaller, which worked out way better than my last one. I love sewing for that reason. You can make it fit your body, but it's like a cupro, I think that's what it's called, fabric. It's like a mix of rayon, cotton, and silk. So you get this lovely sheen. It's like rose colored. I felt so pretty in it. I'll try to put some B-roll in here. But yeah, that was a dress I was really proud of. And that's the back with just some edge binding on it. Yeah, if you need like a quick dress that's fairly easy to put together, but it looks really stunning, and I think this could look stunning on like a lot of body types, I would recommend. It's a good pattern. I liked it. But yeah, other than like some projects I did for other people, which I don't have because they are with their new owners now, that's been my month. Hopefully there's some finished objects next time I pop in. I know I keep talking, but I want to do more videos. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think instead of like setting an expectation with myself that I'm going to have more, like, oh, I'm going to have a video every 2 weeks, I think I'm just going to do it as I find room. It's just easier. And then you get, you know, better quality content, hopefully, instead of trying to rush through things. But yeah. On that note, have yourself a wonderful day. Stay crafty. Bye.